really good, everybody. This is Nathan Allebach, and welcome to the podcast where we get into people's stories and go down a bunch of rabbit holes about what's really good in the world. Before we jump in here, I just wanted to say real quick that I'll be slowing down with releasing new episodes starting in or around September, I should say. I'm just in a transition period where I got to focus more of my time on freelance gigs with like social media consulting and writing. So I'm not going to have as much time to produce these episodes on a semi-weekly basis. I think I've talked about this on the show before, but just to do it right, to produce a quality episode. I mean, it takes somewhere around 2 hours of editing for every 1 hour of recording, which really adds up over time. And it's just not, the show isn't in a place right now where it can bring on any major sponsorships or anything like that would help my income. So it's not going away. It's just going to start slowing down a bit, and then we can see where it goes from there. But either way, thank you guys so much for the support over the past year. Just everybody who listens and shares, and the people I've become friends with through the podcast. It really is the funnest thing for me. And if I had unlimited time and resources, I'd be doing multiple shows a week. But it is what it is. Enough about me. I don't want to rant too much about this. Let's just get into this thing for today. I had on Preston Williams for this episode. He is a actor and joke writer and the creator of the viral Twitter account Whale Fact, which has currently over 140,000 followers. And so if you haven't seen it, the profile picture is literally just a whale, and the account blew up in August of 2018 with a tweet that just said, "Whales are pretty fucking big." We talked about just how the account blew up, why Preston started it, what it's been like riding this wave. Oh my god, I just realized that's like a pun. It's terrible. What his creative process is like with the jokes, and he started inserting sort of like a political humor into the feed, so just how he manages that. We talked a bit about the loose community of joke Twitter and how it's evolved over the years, and we also riffed about this Twitter conspiracy that was floating around from these users who were claiming that the brand account that I manage, Stakem, and then a bunch of mutual joke writing friends between Preston and I, that we were all somehow in this conspiracy to buy foreign bot accounts to artificially inflate our popularity. So we didn't get too much into it, but we ripped on that a little bit, which is very ridiculous, and it's, I guess, all in good fun now. But anyway, make sure you follow Preston and A Whale Fact on Twitter and buy his merch. I got the links in the show notes. And yeah, if you dig the show, please say something nice on iTunes or hit me up on social media if you got any feedback. Now let's get into what's really good. Preston, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Dude, I swear, it's always weird doing like intro bits after I've been talking to the guest for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's like, all right, well, now we got to jump into the show, like we get all the banter out of the way, and like we start riffing on topics, and I'm like, hold that thought. We'll get into this.
That's funny. Shut up. Don't
please, save it for the show.
Later. You've only got so much funny.
Exactly. You're gonna burn it all out.
Dude, but I do.
No, stop that. You got it for days, obviously. You can't run an account like your account for as long as you have, as consistent as you have if you're a burnout. So yeah, man, let's just jump into it. I mean, you run A Whale Fact, which for those who don't know is this. I'll let you describe it, because it's not like a parody account. It's not just a joke account. It's its own unique thing. So why don't you get into what it is?
Yeah, well, it's first and foremost an informative, I'd say almost educational Twitter account about whales. Many of the tweets that I tweet are technically true, and that's what I'm trying to stick to. Some of them there's a little bit of leeway, and some of them you couldn't possibly prove false, and that's good enough. But the point is, they're all about whales, and it's every day. And I don't know. I've never come up with an elevator pitch for it. So put me on the spot there. I guess I should have.
I love it, man. Yeah, it is. It's like that quirky, like you in some ways hyperbolize certain truths, or you just kind of like you do these weird spin-offs of facts or statements with whale. Like you always spin it back around to it being about whales, but in some really like weird way. I mean, like, okay, so let's start here, since you didn't have an elevator pitch, which is great because that means this is all off the cuff. And I'm trying to think. I guess we could start by getting back to I assume is the first tweet that went viral, which was the whales are pretty fucking big tweet.
Yeah.
Was that the first big one?
That was not only the first big one, it was the first and only tweet from that account.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Whale Facts beginning was fucking crazy. Okay, so I tweeted, whales are pretty fucking big, from a brand new account that I created. From literally idea to tweet was like 5 minutes. I was just waiting for my friend to come over for D&D. And I was just sitting at my kitchen table thinking about how big whales are.
Oh my God.
May have been a little inebriated. I won't specify how or in what way, but I was sitting there and thinking about whales. I was like, that'd be funny if someone tweeted that. They'd be like, you know what? If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. Might as well. And I did, and I tweeted that, and then it went viral. This was August 24th of 2018, Friday night at 8 p.m., I think it was.
I'm literally looking at it right now on my phone. This is so weird. It's the night before I got married.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I got married on the 25th.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. It's been a fun year so far. But I'm looking at the analytics, and it's crazy. I mean, it got 87,000 retweets, 315,000 likes, and you're trying to tell me that you just started the account, put that tweet out, and then it got to that point just on its own?
Yeah, so the only thing I did, and I still don't know who hit it first, how it got seen, but all I did was follow everyone that my personal account was following at the time. So that was like it was like 300 people or so, and like some of joke Twitter in there. Clearly, someone noticed,
right,
and hit it. But like I didn't know anyone at all on Twitter. Twitter was just where I like tweeted about my lunch and stuff and pictures. Like I've had Twitter since like 2009. I tweeted jokes every now and then, but just for my friends, like a normal Twitter.
Right.
And then it's just, God, Twitter's a totally fucking different place now. It's insane.
Right. So like at that time, were you like involved in joke Twitter in any capacity, or was it just more like a hobby type thing on the side?
No, I followed like Andrew Nadeau and Good Bean and
Good Bean.
Good Bean. It's the best bean. Oh my God, I love him. Good Bean jokes.
He is tremendous.
And honestly, maybe like a couple other ones, but those were like. Maybe it was one of them. I don't know. None of them. And I've talked to all of those guys, all my friends in joke Twitter now, and none of them know like who started, how it got big. Like it doesn't. No one knows. But it went from 0 to 62,000 followers.
In how long? Oh my God.
From Friday, but yeah, we were at 62,000 by Sunday night.
Yeah, because I remember the first, I forget which day it was that I saw it, but I think I saw it that first week when I was on the Steakum account at one point, and it was just going around, and I jumped into it, and I remember looking at it and being like, how is this? Like, this makes no sense. Like, the account is following, like, nobody, and just came out of nowhere, and it's like viral tweet, and, like, then you started, like, a string of them. So, like, how... From that first moment, like, what was it like, I guess, getting all those notifications, and then, like, what did you do with it from there? Like, what were your thoughts?
It's insane. It was insane. It was, honestly, and I don't want to sound like a douche, but it literally, honestly, completely changed my life. Which I didn't, I
don't sound like a douche.
I don't know. Cool. I feel like a douche. But, it's just, I didn't know, it felt like it would. that weekend was insane. Like, I've never seen anything like that. It went from, I would be happy if a tweet got 5 likes, and then suddenly it's at 300,000. And I'm like, it still doesn't feel real, first of all. Nothing feels real. It's just an app on my phone. There are no other actual people on the other end of that, right? Definitely not.
That's how we have to live.
39,000 of them. Yeah, like literally, it's, oh my God. The first tweet was going to be the only tweet. That was literally why it's called A Whale Fact, is because I was literally going to tweet that single tweet and never touch the account again, forget the password, maybe check on it in like 6 years and see if it got a like. Like, that was the plan.
It might have actually gone in more infamy that way if you had left it go and just like years later it was uncovered by. Yeah.
I know. What could have been, right?
Well,
instead we get this bullshit.
Let the fame get to your head.
I know. Instead of one very satisfied person in 7 years, I have way too many now. Oh man.
Sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead. What were you saying?
I don't remember.
You were saying like after like the first few days, like you kind of you're picking it up and you realize like, oh shit, like this thing blew up. And
so it was like I was me and my roommate here, Dan Ertz. You can follow him on Twitter as well. He's great.
Plug.
We were just basically watching the numbers grow, and I was just replying to as many people as possible and trying to, I don't know, make people love me, but but just by being the good parts of myself is what I was trying to do. The easiest way to stay on character for me was just to put as much of myself into it as I could.
Well, that's a great thing to touch on there, because I was wondering, I wasn't planning to ask this, but I tend to just, it comes up in conversation naturally when we talk about these types of accounts, just how you go about developing a voice for it. Because when you look at the most successful types, like similar types of accounts on Twitter, whether it's Nihilist Arby's or whatever, they all have like a very distinct tone and something that kind of sets them apart from, or like Drill, like you have like all these very, very unique voices, and then people get attached to those voices, and then you kind of like build on it, like building blocks. And I know in certain cases, like when it comes to a lot of joke writers, the best way to differentiate is obviously to be yourself, because you can't really play a part like to a certain degree. Like you can, I think, when you're separate, like even with like a Whale Fact, because it's sort of separate from yourself. Like you could have, if you wanted to, like develop a very specific strategic voice to it. But I think in most cases within like joke Twitter, it's way more efficient to just, if you have the personality, like let it shine through. So that's interesting to know that you just right off the bat were like, okay, I'm just going to try to be my quirky, weird self, and hopefully people will like it.
Yeah. So it's like I would say a stylized version of myself.
Right.
Because from the get-go, when I started replying to people, I was like, clearly this account is run by a whale. I thought that was funny and cute. So I was like, I'll just do it, but I'm never going to talk about it. I'm not going to address it. I have since, plenty of times. Now, I think literally today I tweeted, two Steakum, right? You were a part of that, right?
Yeah, someone tagged us in that thing. It was like all of our accounts.
Yeah, and I was just, it's like, I'm over here just being like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm a whale. Just hanging out with the brands.
Yep, it's fine.
So obviously it's a little looser now, but
right.
But that was the initial thought was, I'm going to try to just try to make this like this loving, happy character. It was very much inspired by Thoughts of Dog and We Rate Dogs all the lovely, happy dog accounts. Animal accounts is what I went for, or what I meant. Yeah,
it's very wholesome.
Yeah. And so I was trying to balance being wholesome with dropping the F word in the very first tweet. But I was just, okay, so I very much focused on just like crafting that first tweet because I was, again, inebriated and bored and and waiting for my friends. And so I got so lucky that I did and made every little stupid choice that I did, because it ended up working out so well. When it blew up, I had this exact picture to build off of. When people went to my profile, they knew exactly what they were getting, which I think is what partially helped drive the follower boom.
Right.
It was just such an easy sell point, and I didn't realize that at the time. This was all months of thinking about it.
Yeah, no, that's so true though. I mean, that is like a major selling point of those types of accounts where like it's it's like keep it simple, stupid. Like it's like a picture of a whale. It says a whale fact. Like you, as soon as you make eye contact with it, you have an assumption of what you're about to see, and you just keep delivering over and over. Like I'm looking.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm looking right now. I just scroll. It didn't take me too long to scroll all the way to the bottom of the feed, and it says, So you're like on August 25th, so the following day, then you tweeted most whales are legally unemployed, and like that one blew up too. Like that one went up to 15,000 retweets and 69,000 likes. Nice. It's crazy. And then I'm going through the next few. I mean, like it's crazy how consistently viral the accounts stay, which almost never happens with this type of thing.
Yeah.
So, did you yeah, no problem. Did you experience I guess like what's your growth been like since that first month in terms of followers?
Yeah, so I actually hold up. I have the exact number, which I'm sure you'll be interested in.
Perfect.
So it took me what, 3 days to get to 62,000 followers, which still is impossible to me. Hold up. Oh man, I'm gonna started saying this. Okay, and then it took me 262 more to get 62,000 more followers.
Wow. That's how it is, right? You kind of like plateau because it's like a trendy thing. Everybody's like, oh, cute, a whale fact. But then you just kind of start to blend in.
And that if you look at the bottom of the feed, like what you were doing, I've retweeted a couple, so I don't know if they're all showing up.
Yeah, they don't all show up like linear.
Yeah. So basically, the first one hit like 300,000. The second tweet hit like 100-something thousand. The third one hit like I think it was like 70-something, and they sort of stepped down from there.
Right.
And then I had a couple more that would go up to like 15, 20, things like that, and then it sort of steadied out a little bit more, and then basically it gets harder and harder to sell because I'm making the same fucking joke every day.
Right.
Like it's whales and here's something about them. Like that's all it is. Like, and so I had to figure out how to start saying more than just talking about whales.
Right.
And so obviously anyone that has followed Whale Fact knows that it gets pretty political unabashedly.
Yeah.
And I've decided to not stray away from that at all. I think, especially in the political climate that we are currently in the United States, it is very important that people that have a voice use it to say things that need to be said and need to be heard. And so I'm trying to say the things that I think that I can say, like that that I should be saying, and trying not to I don't know, hurt anybody. So like, okay, so I had one recently that went very big. It was my second biggest tweet ever, and it was about a month ago, and it was about shit. I need to bring it up because I don't want to mess it up. I'm sorry.
Was it the female body one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was about whales not knowing anything about the human female body, and that being why they don't make laws about it, which was very much a very obvious pointed statement about the abortion laws going around the United States right now. I hoped that people would receive it well, but I wasn't really sure. So that was that kind of tweet. When I have that kind of tweet, I shop it around to people that have, a better perspective on it. So I sent it to a couple of my, feminist friends.
Yeah, right.
That, and it's just like, hey, is this the message I should be sending? Is this the right way to say it? Is there something better? With that one, I got lucky, and they were like, hell yes, that's fucking hilarious. Go for it. But then, like, I've had another one. Like, I did a gay pride one that I sent to a couple of my my homosexual friends, just to make sure that I was not going to offend anyone, and that I wasn't, because like I don't know. I work really hard to remind myself that I'm a straight white man, so I don't have the perspective on it And that scares me because I'm talking to so many different people, and I've made mistakes already, and people call you on it immediately.
Right.
And I don't mind being called out on it. I think please yell at me if I ever say anything insensitive. But like, I don't want to offend anybody, and there's only so much you can do if you're like, I'm so sorry, because it's done. You already did it.
Right.
Like, saying sorry might be enough for that person, but probably won't be.
Right.
And you don't, I don't know. I feel so bad because I work so hard to make Whale Fact this welcoming, loving thing that if I turn someone away from it, not for something that they did horribly, because I block people all the time if they're shitbags in the comments. Like, you don't belong here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to be a fan of my content and you're going to be a dick to the people that are fans of my content, then see ya. Yeah.
Well, it's
which I tried not to do at first, but now. Yeah.
You have to a certain degree. You have to when your account gets that big, because you just get flooded with people from all over, and like it just becomes like a drain on your soul. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
God.
It gets to a certain point where you see so much negativity, and it's like, how am I supposed to counter this unless you just mute them? But like even that, it is what it is. But like, it's interesting, like thinking about, how do you, I guess, view the role of this account in like the comedy space? Because like hearing you talk about the political, like kind of balancing this whole like political world and kind of inserting subtly like your own like 2 cents, for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
it's interesting to consider like I don't know, like the role different types of people have. Like I would think that a public figure, like if you're a comedian and you're a public facing person and you have like a platform, obviously like I would consider someone in that position's role to be significantly more weighted than I would a anonymous funny Twitter account. Like I almost view like anonymous accounts that are kind of built for entertainment more in the space of like, I guess what we could consider like cartoon shows. Like if you're thinking about South Park or Family Guy or any of these like, shows that have like a tint to them that might be political or have like social commentary. I think there's something like there's something to be said about like what is like permitted or permissible, I should say, on platforms like that versus from a public figure. Because I feel like cartoons and like that medium in general, like they can get away with way more in terms of like weighted political statements, because it's not necessarily it's not like being directed by a public figure who's like leveraging, a specific platform with a specific agenda. Like it's behind a sort of mask in a way, which kind of like softens the blow a bit. So like, do you kind of like, how do you view like your account, and like then how do you then navigate, or how do you view your role, I should say, in so far as like the comedy world?
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
I know it's a huge question, but like just something I think about a lot with this stuff.
No, you're good. I'm just trying to figure out how to answer. I think, and I work very hard to keep it funny for the most part. I think Whale Fact's role is, I don't know. It's strange because I didn't have to plan it or anything. It just happened and it was just there. And so its role was just sort of what I accidentally made it.
Right.
It's become more of this like a friend almost. I'm trying to make it as relatable and as personable as possible. But also, wow, that was fun to say. But also I don't want it to become, I want it to keep a character. Like I don't want it to be me specifically. I want it to be the whale, because the whale can say,
even the political tweets, like you're not breaking character in those tweets.
Yeah, the whale can say exactly like what you were saying. The whale can say so much more than I can say.
Right.
And it's because the whale is not a straight white man. Like, and that's true of no matter who I would be. Like, obviously, that's just, the whale it's a whale. No one has preconceived notions about what a whale should or shouldn't say.
Right.
That said, plenty of people like to tell me that a whale shouldn't say a lot of the things I say. But those people are fucking stupid, because a whale can say whatever the fuck it wants. Like, so, I love responding to those people and being like, I've never once heard a whale complain about my language.
Well, yeah, that's the whole, I guess, backdrop that you have to work with, no matter which direction you would have chosen to go with the account, because it's all tied back to the absurdity of what you're doing. So I mean, like,
Exactly.
no matter what you say, everything comes back to the fact that this is all made up, and whales don't actually talk. But we're playing this game, and it's a character, just like we do with other types of brands, like the Satan Twitter account. We know it's not really Satan, but we pretend it's Satan.
I know he's not verified.
We do,
that's
dude.
A point of contention.
I just did a podcast with him. I swear, it's not the real Satan.
Okay.
But even brands like whether it's Steakum or like Moon Pie is a big one, where like Moon Pie has like a kind of personified presence, and people engage with it. Depending on the tweet, they'll engage with it like it's a sentient moon pie, or they'll engage with it like it's the social media manager behind it. But either way, they're like, what do you call it? Like, you're suspending your disbelief for a character. And like it's always going to be your backdrop to a degree.
Yeah. So that's a great way to put it. And I have people that will message me on my personal account or reply to my tweets, because I'm a follower whore. Sorry, I want followers on my personal account too. Sorry. So when I tweet about Whale Fact, sometimes I'll reply to it from Whale Fact, and whatever. So I gained 1,000 followers last time I did that. Literally.
I was going to ask about that. Like, is that when did you start, I guess, getting more active with your personal then? Like, have you been trying to build it? Like, were you trying to, you said you weren't really trying to build it prior to the Whale Fact thing.
No.
So, like, now that that's kind of blown up and you have a personal account as well, like, what's the balance like building that out?
So that, I'm so grateful to have that personal account, because obviously when you're trying to write a tweet about a whale every single day, you have other ideas that aren't about whales. And let me tell you, I got plenty of them.
You need a space for the non-whale content.
Exactly. So it's tedious and it's exhausting writing about whales every single day and replying to, I mean, I don't want to like badmouth anybody, because I love it every time, and I love when people reply and everything, but I reply to the same tweets so many times, the same questions, correct the same things. Yes, an orca is a dolphin, but a dolphin is a toothed whale, so an orca is also a whale and a dolphin. It's not that hard.
Come on, people.
But yeah, so that is literally the most that, and what would be the other thing I would have to correct, and is that blue whales do not ejaculate 400 gallons every time. That's not why the ocean's so salty. It's more like 4 or 5 gallons, which is still impressive.
It's a lot of cum.
But it's not 400 gallons. Jesus. There's like a viral picture, and I swear I get tagged in it twice a week. Oh,
you got to just constantly be dispelling these male falsities. You're like
I know.
You speak for the whales. You're the whale. You're like a whale influencer, dude.
I am the whale-lax. I speak for the whales. Lorax's name wasn't Treelax. That joke didn't make sense. That's okay.
I got it.
All right, good.
But dude, so like, okay, so on that note then, like, what has been, you kind of touched on this a little bit before we went on that tangent, like, what has been the creative challenge like in terms of having to constantly not outdo yourself, but with the beginning of a Whale Fact and how like it did teeter out so quick and it was so big so fast, and now you leveled out and you've had to work a little harder to gain more following since then. Like, what's it like day to day now? Like you've been saying, it's obviously it's exhausting coming up with whale stuff, but like how has that been for you personally in terms of like being a creative person? Like, how's that challenged you or like expanded your writing chops?
I would say so far it's still just a ton of fun. I'm still just having it's a lot of work. It feels like another job, but hopefully it will. And we have merch coming out soon. We were going to talk about that at some point. I'll plug it at the end. Anyway, that's what I'm saying is it feels like a job, but like I'm hoping to do something with it, not just monetarily, but like being able to say what I want to say and have people listen, like I was talking about earlier, like that is a reward in and of itself right now. And it, as difficult as it is to come up with another funny whale joke every day, it used to be really, really stressful. I would get really stressed out every morning to make sure that I was going to have a tweet ready to go that I was satisfied with. But the further in I get, the more I've sort of found a rhythm to it where it's like, I can wait a few days and I'm like, oh, okay, I can either do a political tweet about something happening in it doesn't have to be like straight up political, but relevant.
Like the real time stuff.
Yeah,
like the abortion
some sort of
thing.
real time. Yeah. Or like an Avengers Endgame tweet, something like that. Like whatever's happening right now, just a current event tweet. There we go. But if I ever get stuck, I can go to like a whale would never and insert blank there. Like I have a lot of fallbacks now that I've sort of built up, but I've figured out how to keep them interesting, I guess. And also I've figured out that they don't always have to be that different from the other ones. Followers have, and by followers I mean everyone, myself included. I'm also a follower. I didn't like the way I said that. My followers, at least, have, I guess, very short attention spans.
Yeah.
Because you can scroll through and you'll find tweets that are whale facts that are similar to other ones, and a lot of times it's because I wrote that tweet and then I went to do a reply to it, which I love doing now. I've done that more recently. But I'll be like, oh, this is sort of similar, but it's good enough that it should be its own tweet. So that's what a lot of those are. Or just other riffs on my own tweet that I thought of later that I was like, I'll tweet that later. And occasionally I'll have someone sort of tag the other one, but it's always like in a fun, I guess, okay, my followers either have short attention spans or they're very forgiving of me. Either way, I love them. And I think they just understand that it can be tiring. And as long as they're still funny, they don't always have to be new. They just have to be new enough, and enough new people are going to see it that it's still going to, I don't know, do numbers as much as
exactly. If you have a formula, like it's working, so you don't have to stray so hard from the formula. Like I think, and you look too at different successful joke writers, whether it is more parody style accounts like Satan, or it's more actual like comedy writer type accounts in joke Twitter. It's most people have bits. Like most people have, whatever,
like running gags.
The thing that draws people back to the account. I mean, like I can think of like big ones with like mutual friends of ours, like with Kellen. Like he has like the green M&M one, or like all his followers know like green M&M content, and then and he used to have the one where he was like trying to attack the sun or the moon, or it was the sun first.
Fight the sun.
Yeah, you wanted to fight the sun.
I think he's threatened both of them.
Yeah. And then it's like everybody kind of has like their bit that get like you said in the very beginning of this, how with the whale fact, it's such a to the point type brand where people see it, they know what they're going to get, and you just deliver it. And I think having those formulas like in the back of your mind isn't a bad thing at all, because like you can't it's cool to come up with new stuff all the time, but you also it's physically impossible. Like you're a writer, and when you're writing, it's like you have the limitations of words. Like you can't really do, and like I don't know, like everybody has like their own. Like we were kind of talking about before all this. Like we're talking about like how someone like Drill has a really unique thing going on, and like whoever the writer is behind Drill has been doing it for like a decade at this point. But they have like a super unique grasp on grammatical and like just like spelling errors and like doing weird things with,
and it's so consistent,
very consistent, and people love it. People always go back. Like there's very few, like there definitely are Drill tweets that stand out among his regular formula, but there's few of them. Like most, like 9 out of 10 of those tweets, like it's a very, very similar vibe going on. So like I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
Yeah, but I have learned to, or at least try and use that to my advantage. Like I have very set rules that have become looser with time, but basically very strict rules as to what constitutes a whale fact, like check marks it had to meet for it to be for it to work on the account. Like, and that doesn't mean like I would trash any idea that didn't adhere to that. It would just mean I would work it until it did.
Yeah, right.
And they've become looser now, but it's still, I never want to tweet something like I did, with the exception of April Fool's Day, like I did on April Fool's Day, where it was like whales are pretty fucking small, I think is what I tweeted. Which is like, although even that really I can get away with because I could say compared to something else. So that one's not a good example. But if I said like, let's get real on the nose, I would never tweet something like whales don't exist.
Right.
Because that is provably not true. And I don't, and that was the keystone and continues to be the keystone of the whale fact, is I don't want to become a fact account where it's like whales like Fortnite or something like that.
Yeah,
or
totally.
Whales think that Justin Bieber looks cute or something like that. Actually, I probably would tweet that. Fuck me. Never mind. That's not provably false at all.
You're writing that down in your draft.
Yeah,
right
literally.
now.
I was like, I just read that. I said that out loud, and I was like, fuck it.
That's beautiful.
All right, so that was a bad example. I'm really good at coming up with bad examples right now.
Well, I think it goes to show too. I mean, like, again, like it's hard sometimes to define the line between your own personal like humor and then how you can like mix that into an account like this, because you are inserting your humor into the account inevitably. Like,
exactly.
It's part of who you are. So like obviously what you think is funny, it's going to make its way there, and obviously it's working. So I mean, there is stuff like that where, like you said, it can be a little bit more. And maybe like not as not on the nose, but like maybe not as consistent to some of the other tweets that you've done, but it still works. Like it still fits the voice. Exactly.
Yeah, and what I was saying with the rules, what I was getting to, which I remembered while you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, that was my point. Was that the rules were so strict that way when I break them, people notice, and people understand, and people get the gravity of it, and I which doesn't work. It's the same with what we were talking about before we started recording, with using the F word, which I did in the first tweet. I got very lucky using that, and that sort of established that, hey, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Sure, yeah.
And it's about whales. So I really think about it before I use it every time, because I don't want to overuse it. But then it's sort of like, it's very obvious if you look through my tweets, the tweets with the F word do better. Yeah, right. Which means that anything political or anything that I'm like, oh, this is a good idea, I think that this might actually be seen, that people might retweet this might go viral, I try to work an F word in there, because it really does make a difference. But I don't try to force it in. If it doesn't work anywhere, then it doesn't work. And that's fine.
It also might be the case that, like, if you were to do that every tweet, it would lose that punch that you were talking about.
Exactly.
Like, you want to keep that, because like I think there's some brands that can work language like fuck into tweets consistently and make it part of their brand. Like we talked about like Nihilist Arby's before. Like, in almost every Nihilist Arby's tweet, the word is there, but it also fits what he's trying to do. Like, it's Nihilist Arby's. Like, it's a very dismal, cynical take on life and existence and existentialism. So like it's right there, like in your face. Whereas what you're doing, it still works, but it's also, like you were saying, it's more the account as a whole is more wholesome. So when you do throw it in, it hits people a lot harder.
Yeah, I want it to be meaningful, and that's less true in the replies, because in the replies are a lot less formal, but they are first and foremost from the whale. Like, it is a whale replying, where the facts are like, this is what we have. The research shows this. This is the fact. This is. I like to read them very deadpan, or in like any sort of God voice you've heard, like a Morgan Freeman or something like that. And just, whales are pretty fucking big. Like, I want it to be. You
should do like a narrated audiobook of your tweets or something.
I've thought about it. Well, there are tons of stupid ideas, I promise you, that I have written down for different like books and things. Gosh, who knows if any of that'll ever happen. But anything, that's what I love about Whale Fact and what we did with the original shirts and anything that we ever. I keep saying we. It's me and anybody that helps me.
It's easy to prefer to it as we. Yeah, I get it.
And I say we because Dan helps me a lot.
Yeah.
And Will, if I get busy or anything, like but anything that monetarily that ever comes out of it, I am happy for, obviously, because it's helping me. But always a portion will go to currently we're working with the WDC. I don't see any reason to stop working with them. Whale and dolphin conservation. They're in a charity based out of London, England. And they actually reached out to me initially, and that was the first run of those shirts that we did was through them.
That's awesome.
So they're fantastic, but they do a ton of awesome work all over the globe to help whales and help the environment, and they're fantastic. And they're great to work with, but hard to communicate with sometimes because they're in London.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so anything in the future we'll be doing based out of here and just sort of sending them a donation.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, it's great to be connected to like a relevant organization like that.
Yeah, and it just feels, it makes me, I would feel like an asshole if I did anything with this account and wasn't actually helping.
You're very self-conscious. I get this so much. Like you really like are very considerate, I should say, of like how you're being perceived in these situations, and that makes sense because, like you said, like when this whole account blew up, it wasn't like you weren't like I don't know. I'm trying to think of someone as another a counter example, but I would say the majority of accounts that get popular, they get popular over time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, it's just kind of like you kind of grow with the account, and it's like, oh, like I'm doing this thing, and then it kind of becomes successful, and then it gets more successful. But with yours, I mean, you were just like you said, just some guy. You did it as a gag, and it exploded. So all of a sudden now you have like this massive voice, and all these eyeballs are on you. So it makes sense that you like are thinking so much about just like, oh shoot, like I want to make sure like I'm doing the right thing here and the right and you know I'm not being like an asshole here, but you don't strike me as an asshole at all. So I think you're okay.
Well, thank you.
I wish the assholes out there were a lot more like thinking in the way you're thinking, because it would be much more helpful. But
I think I've made enough mistakes in my life, and luckily for me, they have been mostly minor.
Well, we all
have learned from them, and and just luckily I have I honestly think it goes back a lot to I do a lot of theater in the area I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. So being a part of a theater community, you sort of see every different type of person you could possibly see, and none of them have any problem telling you what the fuck they think, because they're all in the theater, they're all obnoxious, I'm obnoxious, they're all loud, they will tell you, they'll literally talk to you for 6 hours about everything they think and every show they love, which is lovely and annoying, and I'm the same way.
But you're self-aware to it, and that's the thing. Like, it's a very,
like it's impossible not to know exactly who I am.
Because like a field like that, it's you have to be egotistical to a large extent. Like I was talking to I was talking to this guy Jason Ager, who I'm friends with. He's just a songwriter and a college professor, and we were getting into this. I mean, I talked about this a bunch with people, but it's just the idea that if you're gonna produce something and put it into the world, whether that's tweets or it's art or it's some type of craft or content, whatever it might be, you have to have some type of ego to think to convince yourself that other people are going to give a shit about what you did. You know what I mean? So it's like, it becomes this thing where that either goes two directions. Like you either go the direction of the egomaniac, which would be someone like kind of stereotypically like a Gary V type who's just so full of themselves, and like someone who's drinking their own Kool-Aid and they're just totally into what they're doing, and they're not taking crap from anybody, and it's just like it's me, I know what I'm doing, I know how to be successful, I'm just gonna go. And those people, they tend to get a lot done, but they also tend to be jerks because they're not really being considerate of how other people see them. And the other opposite end of the spectrum is someone like my wife, who I've talked about on this show, and she's like the most sensitive person that I know. And like, and I'm similar to you, I'm sure, where I'm pretty loud and I'm pretty into myself and obnoxious. Obviously, I have a podcast, so obviously I think that people give a shit about what I'm saying. But like, so like, so you know, but like,
I mean, I went on a podcast. So.
Exactly, we're in the same boat here, right? But like, my wife, like, if we're out in public, just walking around or whatever, I'm much more prone to do something that's going to draw attention, and I do it. Like, in my own defense, I guess I could say, like, it's not really a defense, but in my mind, this is just how I am. Just like, similarly, I'm sure this is just how you are. Like, my personality is always bursting at the seams. Like, I'm not I'm not consciously thinking, how can I get people to look at me? It's just happening. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, like, my wife, when she's around me and there's moments, I mean, it drives her up a wall because she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, people are looking at us. People are thinking you're crazy. People are thinking I'm crazy because I'm with you. And that's like, she's the opposite end of the spectrum. But I think
I love it.
People like you or I, we're kind of somewhere in the middle because, you know, we are that egotistical and like into our work and we believe in what we do. We like what we do, but we're also at least sensitive enough to be considerate of how we're coming across to other people. And that can slide, that's like a sliding scale. Like, that can slide into you being overly self-conscious, or it can slide into you being more of a douche. But it's good to just be aware of it.
It does slide around. I'm glad that I don't sound like a douche right now.
Nah, you're fine. I had to rush to your defense. I'm like...
I love it. Oh man, but it does, and it's tricky to like manage how much I need to care about what other people say and which things that other people say I should listen to, because obviously everybody has an opinion, and some of them are really bad,
right.
and some of them are just mean, and those are obvious and easy to ignore, and if it's clearly indicative of a poor character, then possibly they will get blocked because of one horrible thing they've said. But then occasionally you'll see someone say something, and off the cuff I think, oh God, don't, like, why would you, that's horrible. Why would you even say that or think that? And then you realize that they meant something entirely different, and they had no idea that it sounded that bad in what they said, and I just feel so bad for writing them off immediately, or if I like blocked them and then learned about it later. Like, that's what kind of shit I worry about.
This is the hellhole of Twitter. This is why civilization is crumbling.
Twitter is hell. Twitter is hell.
It literally, dude, it literally is. I mean, like, just listening to you to kind of get into that, I mean, I think about that all the time in terms of,
right?
Yeah, because like some people, like, I don't know, like I see people comment certain stuff all the time, and because with the Steakum account, I'm in a ton of just weird group chats, and I get tons of
oh, dude, me too.
And I know you are, and I get so, and I'm sure you do too here, I get so many DMs from specifically young kids, like kids who are like under 18, and the stuff that they say in a lot of cases, it's just so interesting because like sometimes what I'll do is like I'll have like a, I don't know what you call it, like a semi online relationship with some user, and like we banter back and forth, and they might like make content, we might have some jokes, and it's all good. And then like months later or a year later, someone shares like a tweet that they did and is like, this is like a problematic thing this person said, like I saw you follow them or you interacted with them, like this is bad. And it's like this weird space because in some cases, like we're talking about, like it's clear that the people instigating or provoking like a certain behavior or a certain like phrase online, they're bad and they're just trying to be provocateurs and they're trying to be hateful, bigoted, whatever it might be. Like, of course, that is a real thing and that exists. But there's also tons of cases with these like younger kids who are just kind of like searching for themselves online, and they're swept up into these weird online communities and memes and YouTubers and Twitch streamers, and like I remember when I was that age, I mean, like, I don't know, like I obviously wasn't like fucking posting neo-Nazi shit or whatever, but like I was, you know, you get swept up into whoever you're into at the time. Like if it's like a video game streamer or like some TED Talk speaker, whoever it might be, like your imagination and like your identity is easily captured and influenced by outside sources. So like anytime I run into these weird cases, I'm so torn, because part of me is like, I want to be the person who, stands up and says, this might be bad or this might be wrong. Here's why you shouldn't do this. But at the same time, I also want to be the person who's like not a dick to them. Like I want to be like, hey, like this is, why this might not be good. And like sometimes those types of people are just super defensive and they're like, screw you, and they leave and they don't want to talk to you. Other times they're like, oh, I can learn from this. And Twitter is just such a toxic environment that most cases, like no one gets to learn from anything, because it's just we just crucify whoever is like our target at the time.
It's true. So
it is.
And
it's
that's why I feel
tough.
so bad, because we've like we pile on people sometimes. Like if somebody like posts a shitty comment on one of our friends' posts, it'll get dropped in a group chat.
We'll
the
group
like,
chat.
Look at this asshole. And then we'll like suddenly this person that just made a comment on this person's tweet has like 30 huge accounts telling it to fuck off. And I'm like, in most cases, I'm like, good. I hope you learned from it. And that was kind of like scary or something. I don't know, not scary. Like, I hope.
But it got you thinking that this is like has consequences.
They're like, oh, look, at a bunch of people that seem like they have people that trust them, and they're telling me I'm doing something wrong. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. And of course that's never what happens. But like occasionally, I think maybe once or twice that I can think of, we've like piled on, just mostly joking, like, oh yeah, this guy's a shitbag, might as well just make a bunch of jokes at his expense. But then it ended up that it was one of those where they misread the tweet, or we misread the tweet, or misunderstood what they meant, or they thought they were making a joke and they didn't understand that it wasn't okay for XYZ reason, or like, and it's just and I just feel, I don't know, I feel like scummy. I'm just like, oh man, we just attacked this person.
It's mob mentality in a way. We all do it.
We're like, I'd say we're good. We're all good people. The group chaps that I'm at, my group chaps,
my chaps in the group chat,
my group chaps and I are all pretty good people. So we're not like telling these people to like go die and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
But I still feel bad, like, just for being mean.
Yeah, well, because you're an empathetic person.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You know what it's like to be on the receiving end of all that, and like, especially when you are like it's not most, I should say. Well, it probably is most. It's a lot of the cases that it is younger kids that are doing this dumb stuff, and they have like 16 followers and a cartoon Avi, and they're just like on Twitter being edgy and looking for friends to be edgy with. And it's tough.
Yeah, they think being abrasive is funny sometimes, and it's like people forget that like behind these accounts. I don't know how they forget when the account has a name on it, like Kyle plant emoji. Like, that's a guy named Kyle.
Right.
He's a really great guy, and he gets so much shit, and people attack him constantly, and attack his girlfriend just for being his girlfriend, and attack his girlfriend's family. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's insane.
The things people sling at these at actual real human beings that are just on Twitter, like you, just on Twitter with a lot more pressure.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's like
it's a ton more pressure.
It's like the equivalent. It's like the online equivalent of driving in cars. Like, you look at when you're in traffic or whatever, you just always like your brain. It's literally the default setting for your brain just to be seeing and feeling cars. Like, you're not thinking about people in the cars. Like, you have to be to think that you have to consciously like flip a switch on to be like, oh yeah, I forgot, like I'm driving 80 miles an hour and there's people around me, or this person just cut me off. Yeah, it's like this person just cut me off and I'm trying to tail them now, or they're tailing me. Like, there's people in the car. Like, it's a very secondary thing. I think the same with Twitter. Like, you're used to seeing this Avi and this name, and it's on this really neatly designed platform, and none of it feels real. It's just
exactly, it's inhuman, so you don't treat it like a human.
Yeah.
But like they're all humans.
Yeah.
For the most part. There are lots of bots and
There
shit,
are
too.
bots. Yeah. Well, it's like that. Remember that
God.
conspiracy theory that was going around that all the
Yes.
joke Twitter accounts are the Russian
Yes.
bots?
Okay. I've got to tell a story. All right.
Tell it.
So I mentioned those shirts, and I was working with the WDC. The WDC got anonymously emailed by somebody claiming to be a reporter.
God. No.
Somebody who could not provide any credentials, first of all. And second of all, like, they sent me a picture of the email, and I replied with just laughter. Like, I emailed, like, a professional email that started with ha, 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 ha for 3 lines. Because it was just that ridiculous, but it was all them claiming that my followers were inappropriately acquired, I think was what they said, was the wordage, that I paid. And I was like, yes. I was sitting in my living room, and I thought, why not buy 62,000 followers for a whale-based fact account? That's what my fucking stupid dumbass trying to make rent was like, yeah, let's buy 62. Like, no,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing about the whole conspiracy. It's like most of the accounts that are joke accounts are young kids or young adults that have no money. And
We're
it's like,
all poor. Do you know how many times I get messaged on Whale Fact of just people just asking for money because they just assume I'm rich because I have a lot of followers?
Oh my God.
I'm like, motherfucker, send me money. Christ.
I'm the poor.
I'm the poor one. I'm the one providing you content. Give me money.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's that whole.
Don't you love? Sorry.
It's it's nuts. The whole thing is nuts. I love it. It's that I remember when that whole thing started taking off. I haven't even talked about it on this podcast now that I think about it. So like just for anyone listening in context, I guess there was okay, I gotta date back in my head at the beginning of this. So there were I guess it was like it started out with one person, and then I think it stemmed to 2 or 3 other people on Twitter, like sort of, I guess you consider them part of joke Twitter. They're kind of original. They came from like the Favstar or the Favstar world,
sort of like the old guard of joke
yes,
Twitter.
Exactly, the old guard of joke Twitter from like 2010 or even earlier than that, maybe like somewhere around that period where there was the Favstar, whatever. How do you even pronounce it? Is it Favstar?
I think it's Favstar.
I guess it's Favstar,
but I don't know. I've never heard it said out loud.
I guess
you said Favstar, and I was like, oh shit, is it Favstar?
It's spelled like Favstar, isn't it? Because there's no E in it. You know what I mean? But I guess, but people, when people abbreviate fave, they do it both ways. They'll add an E at the end, or they don't add an E. So I don't know what the proper, whatever, who gives a shit?
Whatever, it's dead.
I think this speaks well to my life as someone who maybe isn't so consumed by the online world that I haven't had this conversation in real life before. I've only ever typed it out to people.
Yeah, well, I joined joke Twitter apparently right after Favstar died, or Favstar, or whatever the hell it is. So I have no idea what it was.
Well,
I've seen like the tweets and like stuff like that. It was like a way to like award people trophies.
Exactly, and it had like an inbuilt system that kind of coincided with like tweet decking, and there was that whole like early phase of just where these accounts would have like third-party sources to basically help boost their content. Like this was back when you would see a lot of tweets from like pre-2014 that would have maybe 2,000 retweets, but only like 300 likes or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you'd see a lot of that going on back then. But anyway, that kind of like as that died down, and then it evolved into what joke Twitter is now, which is mostly just various communities of joke writers where they're not all friends. There's kind of like different cliques of users or whatever. But I guess a couple of them. They believed that I think this stemmed from Steakum, didn't it? I want to say
maybe I don't know how it started, but like that was one of the first instances I saw was with you and with I think Kyle mostly.
Yeah, so I think Kyle and Corey Richardson and I think someone else in the beginning they were getting called out by this conspiracy group or this person. It was a couple accounts I think in the beginning. Yeah. And then I guess the word kind of spread from there. So it didn't start with Steakum. It started there, I think. And then it spread into the joke writing community. And one of the chat rooms that Stakem was in, it was the I think it's the Mickey Mouse Fuck House. It's like a lot of it's a lot of the it's like Corey Richardson, Michaela Oakland, Viking, all them, and it got spread to there somehow. And people were like, "Holy shit!" Like, there's this conspiracy that thinks that we've gained our following from this, and I think. From the Stakem account, then I tweeted something about it because everyone was tweeting about it, and then I it might have happened before this. I can't remember the chronology of it all, but from there, one of those accounts basically went through and started going through like what made the Stakem account successful. Like they literally dug through old articles from like a year and a half prior to that time, and they were trying to like pinpoint. Like where we would have potentially bought these fake bot accounts to boost the following. It was just so weird, dude.
Insane.
Yeah, especially like for anyone that followed like the Stakem account, like and a lot of those people, like I'm friends with them still to this day on my personal account. And like the people that were there in the beginning, like knew how, because they were watching it happen in real time, like how like organic the thing built up. Like it was like the winter of 2017 and 2018. So like January 2018 was when it really blew up. But like those couple months in a row, it was gaining like thousands of followers a month organically, and then getting written up in the media. And it just kind of it exploded when the whole like Verify Stakem thing happened, because that was like the crusade that I was on at the time with the account.
Yeah.
And that's how it got to where it was. So like like I can looking at the analytics, it was never like some random burst of followers. Like all the engagement tracks, all like the numbers track right on like in line with what would be a natural growth progression. But man, these people were literally going off. Like we got emails too, dude. Like we got emails at work. I knew a bunch of other people that were getting hit up, being like they were trying to contact people and get people fired. And I don't know if the intention was to get people fired. I shouldn't say that, but like they were trying to get a rise or get some kind of story out of the whole thing when there was just no smoking gun. And that's what was crazy about. There was just no like hard evidence for any of it. It was all just literal conspiracy.
Exactly.
So weird,
it's
man.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Didn't you got like fucking William Shatner helped you out?
Oh God,
right?
Dude, that was I don't even know if I can talk about this, but like that was actually one of the things where the main account. I don't even want to say their name.
I know, I know. I've been avoiding saying it too. Yeah, just refer to them as the conspiracy theorists. The conspiracy theorist accounts. Okay. Yeah. But like they tried to leverage that at our brand, and they were basically like, you like mobbed William Shatner after us or after me, and I had to be like, what do you like? First off, this is so weird to rant about, but like, first off, they kept bringing stuff up, and then I would reply, and then they'd move the goalposts. So like, the first thing they would do is be like, can you can't verify that like any or I should say like you used celebrities to like falsely prop up your account, like you paid them basically to do like to get your account this. And then I tagged William Shatner because he was the biggest celebrity that ever interacted with our account, and we didn't pay him anything. Like he just organically would like go back and forth with us a few times. So I tagged William Shatner in response to the person's tweet. Yeah, exactly. and William Shatner then like does like a what do you call like a clapback basically at this account, and it was just like then William Shatner ended up blocking them, and that was like this whole thing, and I felt bad because like obviously I don't know the dynamic. Like I don't know what the hell this person is thinking at the time. Like I don't know how William Shatner's going to respond. I'm literally just responding to the inquiry that like you basically got where you are because you paid influencers or celebrities or whatever, which we didn't do. So it's like once that happened, like they got all mad because it was like, why would you tag William Shatner? I'm getting bullied. Like we're getting bullied, whatever. And it was just like, oh, you started it. Yeah, like oh my God, like I literally don't know what to do. And it's like from a brand account too, so like I can't be like I'm trying to be as like to have as much etiquette as I can in the situation without also just like falling over and being like letting them walk all over me. So it's this weird incident, man. Because like I think at some point
I like listened to a bunch of their podcasts. Like they did some podcasts with people like talking about the conspiracy, and it was so just long, and like I just didn't feel like it almost felt like an insider club. Like you couldn't you couldn't even understand what they were talking about unless you had some kind of insider information. And
I hear you.
I tried to listen for like again the smoking gun to be like, what is this thing that they have apparently that is like the root of this whole conspiracy, but I just never heard it. Like I just it's all literal conspiratorial thinking.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh God. What it is. I mean, and I haven't talked to them, so I haven't confirmed this, but what I think, like we mentioned, they were sort of like the old guard of Twitter. They used to do it like that. How they interact with Twitter is how Twitter used to work. Right. That's not how it works now, and so their accounts are just stagnant. They're not growing the way that our accounts are growing because our accounts are playing by the rules.
Yeah,
we're interacting with our. If you look at their tweets, they don't reply to anybody. They don't interact with anybody. They retweet 700 things a day.
Their entire feed is retweets.
So even the people that follow them turn off their retweets. So their retweets mean nothing. And then if you go to their profile and you're trying to find some goddamn reason to follow them, you can't find any of their tweets because they've retweeted 700 fucking tweets. And they have no metric for what they'll retweet. They're just like, oh, let's retweet that and this and that. It's like, what the fuck? How is anybody going to know what to expect from following you if you are not giving them anything?
Yeah. And that is so true too, because like playing by the old rules of Twitter, it worked back then to do that type of thing because there were all these smaller communities and like you had to work together to get
and that's
stuff.
How engagement worked. But
exactly.
Like, the algorithm has completely changed.
Yeah, and like now, like those types of communities, like they almost exist in these like silos where they all like retweet each other, they all follow each other, like, but they're not reaching.
But nobody else is seeing.
Yeah, they're not reaching new audiences, and it is this like weird situation because like I think I've talked to a few different people that we know mutually, like Viking, Kellen, Michaela, Sloan, and now at this point, and it's interesting. Like what I always circle back to is just the idea that with all these upcoming or I guess emerging successful accounts in joke Twitter for the past couple of years, most of them revolve around a cult of personality. You know what I mean? Like they're not evolving from just writing jokes, and I think that's how joke Twitter used to be with like the Fab Star thing. Like back in the day, it was like you came up with joke formats, and then if they were good jokes, they'd go viral. And like obviously, you still see that on Twitter. Like you still see like one-off, random, like really good, well-written, funny jokes that go viral.
Just
but, like,
a viral, exactly.
but consistently, what you see, like as far as like accounts going viral and gaining massive followings, it's not because of joke formats. It's because like they're good joke writers, but they also inject their own personality and their own bits into the profile itself.
Yeah, so it's not just like a scatter shot of here's some random jokes I've written. It's here's maybe some random jokes I've written, but enough built around it. Like I reply enough and keep my character consistent. And this applies to my personal account just as much as it does Whale Fact. Keep what I'm giving of myself, what I'm how I'm portraying myself consistent enough so that when you read my jokes, it's in my voice. So that if that's your shit, if you like it, if you like what you're hearing, then you'll follow me, and then you won't want to unfollow because I'm now this personality that you've come to know.
Exactly. It's like parasocial relationships. Like people want that. Like they don't want just jokes. Like they get jokes. Like you and I and everybody else, we always see those tweets in our feed that'll be like, I'll be scrolling and I'll see a tweet and it has 100,000 retweets, 500,000 likes. It's from some random account with 1,000 followers, and it says like at the top of it, like Preston and 6 others liked this tweet, and I like it. Like we all see those one-off viral tweets that they blow the platform up. We all love it. It's fine, but it's insofar as what people are actually consistently coming back for, they want personality. Like they want to feel like they know you, whether it's they know a Whale Fact or they know you personally. Like they want to follow an account that they feel attached to in a way.
Exactly, and that's why you see like Viking and Kellen, like what you were talking about. They've got insane engagement, like even better than Whale Facts, which I think already has insane engagement.
Yeah.
But it's like, and all of their tweets do so well, and they grow so quickly. But it's because both of them are very funny and very smart. But they're both. Well, I guess very smart was the second part. They're both very funny, but they're also very smart.
and they're very quirky and personable. And unique. Yeah, like they have like a very unique take. And they know how to
tell everyone that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, dude, it drives me nuts, man. I wasn't planning on talking about this. And then
yeah, me neither.
I feel bad because, like, obviously there's going to be some people listening that don't have all the context, and I wish I remembered all the context linear, like in a linear way, so I could be like, this is exactly what happened. So obviously, we're gonna get some stuff slightly off, but I mean that's like the gist of that entire situation. And but going back to your point of this whole kind of like concept of balancing an ego and trying to be sensitive to the feelings of other people, like I also throughout that whole period in a way felt bad for a lot of the accounts that were perpetrating this whole thing, because I mean I don't know them personally, and like for all I know, if I was in a room with them we'd be getting along, it would be fine. Like I don't know them at all, but it's just the fact that it's the way the whole thing started was so impersonal and so just like it started in these whatever they are, like private group chats or off the site, whatever, and then the conspiracy grows, and then as the conspiracy was engaged by the people supposedly that are part of it, it was never addressed in an honest way. And like
never.
For all I know, this is the whole kicker. It's like for all I know, there was like a smoking gun or something like deep buried in one of these accounts. Like I don't know, like and most of the people that I've talked to, they're like you, or it's like a whale fact blew up last year. We can track the data. It's not a thing, but I know there's like a couple of those joke accounts that they go back way further, and like I don't know the origins. So like I went into it totally open, being like I don't know, like I'm friends with these people, but maybe they do this, maybe they're hiring accounts, I don't fucking know, but you know, like there was just never a point where it was like this is provable and this is why. Like it was always this backhanded, very dramatic approach to the site. Like it just felt very slimy to me.
Yeah, no, and that's it's even worse because like you, someone like you or I, we don't that it's compassionate and we don't try to hurt these people. They don't, at least they don't seem to be burdened by that same quandary, and will just straight up be mean, and accuse people of things, and just talk about and be relentless about it. Just, you don't deserve this. You didn't do this. Why would you do this? Your jokes aren't funny. My jokes are funny. Why don't I have followers?
Oh my God!
Like just constantly every day, and I keep bringing up Kyle because he is. Like,
he got the brunt of a lot of it
personally, and I know he's like a wonderful, lovely human being, but he gets shit on every day. People are somebody just like yesterday commented something like, "Oh, I can tell this must not be one of your stolen tweets because it isn't funny."
Oh my God!
And I was like, "Fuck you piece of shit!" Like, oh God, I don't care if people get mad at me, but when you get mad at my friends who I know are like genuinely lovely people that are very, very, very much like me, and that they care very much about what people think and are trying to be compassionate and helpful and want people to like their jokes, because that's like, I don't know, that's what we do.
It's part of the livelihood.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we make jokes, is because people like them and it makes us feel good. Like, that's at its root. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah.
And so we're not trying to do anything malicious. So when people attack you for just trying to make people laugh, it hurts.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And it's just constant.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it also boiled down to just what we were kind of talking about earlier, in the sense where a lot of these accounts, they came from that old guard of joke Twitter, and it was just such a different platform then. And if you've grown up on the internet, like on a specific platform like Twitter, and it's like what you do day in and day out, and you watch like new popular accounts roll in, roll out, and you're putting in the work every day, I can see why there'd be like a resentment, you know what I mean? Because you're like, you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why aren't I growing? And I totally, like, I get that impulse. I get that feeling. Like, I get the suspicion. But, like, yeah, it's just to the point of, I think that some people are way too online, and going back to this idea that they just don't remember that, like, there's someone in the car, there's someone behind the account, like, they are just not thinking about the other person's feelings. And in real life, like, I don't know, like, I'm sure you're similar in the sense where if I'm in a dramatic situation, like if someone I know does something crappy or hurts someone else or whatever it might be, my goal as a friend, like if it's someone that I know personally or that I'm trying to resolve an issue with, like I'm always trying to go to the source of that thing. Like there's been so many points, like especially my family life is kind of crazy, and I have cousins of mine that I'm really close with, that I grew up with, and they've had like a really kind of estranged family dynamic over the years that's caused just some drama here and there. And like this recently has been like an ongoing thing, and every time someone in the family comes forward with like a story or something that happened, my first reaction is always, okay, like let's go to the source, like let's go to the person who you're talking about here. Like, was it mom? Was it the sister? Was it the dad? Like, let's get the take from whoever that was, because as soon as, you know, like just like high school drama, like it's all he said, she said.
Exactly, and it just gets worse.
Yeah, people pick teams, and it just gets so impersonal. And like I think it's just so easy to do that online, and it sucks because obviously, you know, like when you want to develop friendships with people online, but it's hard because you just don't really, unless you're in a situation like with you and Kyle. Like I know we were talking about before we started recording. Like I know you do some streaming with him, you know, and like and that's awesome. That's cool because you kind of get to know an additional layer of the person then, because it's hard. It's hard just on Twitter. Like I one day could flip a switch and be in a bad mood and tweet some crappy stuff, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Damn, like is Nathan like really that big of a piece of shit?" And without like human contact and voices and body movements, like it's really hard to build out someone's character from there. You know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly, and that's why I try very, very hard to sort of reread and triple check everything I write. More on Whale Fact than my personal account, but I mean I should more on my personal account, I guess, just to make sure that like it can't be misunderstood.
Yeah, right.
At least not forgivably misunderstood. Like if it's like clearly that's not what I meant. Come on. Like
yeah, because you can't prevent people from interpreting something no matter what you do. You can only add guardrails and precautions to the best you can.
Yeah, and just try to avoid that as much as I can. But that all goes back to like as much as you feel like you know the people. I mean, I'm not going to like name any names or anything, but we had one guy that we were all pretty close with, and then we found out that he was a scumbag and was not very good to a friend of ours. And it was just, it sucked because every other moment we'd known of him was like lovely, because that was all he showed us. And then we find out about this, and then we have proof, and it just sucks. It sucks, but that's I guess more just the perils of being online.
Yeah, well, dude, it happens in real life too. I was just as you said that, I was thinking of another example. Like I've known people over the years in real life, and this is this is so universal. I think it's worse online for sure, but like in real life, I've known people who, when I meet them in person, they're friendly, we banter, we get along, they're fine socially, and then you hear down the grapevine or from the person directly. Like I've heard tons of stories over the years, because I have a pretty, and I'm sure you do too, you sound like a pretty social guy. Like I have a pretty wide social net of friends like from over the years. And there's been so many times where like someone I knew, like a guy was, you know, interested in some girl that I was also friends with. And then down the line, that girl tells me or shows me texts that he sent her, or is like telling me like, hey, like I know you're friends with this guy, and here's what he said to me, here's what he did. And it's like, I on my own never would have predicted that type of behavior, because like we're buddies, like we're friends, like everything's normal. But you see that stuff all the time. I mean, it's like I tell people all the time too. It's like with like the Ted Bundy movie that came out on Netflix with Zac Efron or whatever. It's like everyone was kind of fawning over Ted Bundy, and like the way they they film the movie like it starts you out kind of empathizing with him, and then you kind of see his crazy come out as it goes on. But it's like that in real life too. Like there's so many people who are just really good at playing the field, and they can be the nicest people you'd ever meet, and then behind the scenes they're just assholes.
And they can be so vocal about like, don't be an asshole, don't be an asshole.
Oh, the pseudo wokes,
don't do all
pseudo
these.
wokes,
and they're so passionate about it while fucking just straight up doing all that shit.
Oh my god.
Oh
yeah, dude. Yeah. That's the pseudo wokeness of Twitter that just destroys my life. Like I can't
painful.
I can't even participate to a degree. Like there's sometimes I'll get political on Twitter. Like I used to be way more political, but I just get so bummed out and burned out from seeing so many people that whether they're public figures or they're people I know on some level. Yeah. And they're tweeting like uber woke stuff, and then like I either know them in real life or know like something they did, and I'm like, like why are you like doing this uber pseudo woke thing? Yeah. Like you're trying to project that you're an ally or that you're there for this issue or this minority or whatever it is, when I know for a fact that you're a shitty person or that you did A, B, or C, and it drives me nuts.
That's exactly the same thing we were just talking about, just from the other perspective. It's like people will present themselves as these wonderful human beings, and if you don't have that knowledge of knowing, wait, no, you're a shitbag, these lies, these words are clearly lies, then they don't look like lies. They look like great things. Yep. And that's and that actually all goes back to when back to how the whale can say more than I can, because I'll tweet things from the whale, and I'll say things about being environmentally conscious and recycling and things like that, and things that I don't always do, and things that I'm guilty of myself as well. And that's why I love having that outlet for, it's like, hey, whales do this, and I'm not trying to say that I am whales. Like I wish I was. I wish I was as good and pure as the crazy, like, mythical version of a whale. That if you took all my whale facts together and turned them into one thing, like that it would be probably as big as the moon and all powerful and like nice.
Yep. Be amazing.
Have a PhD in something.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, dude, we all inevitably are projecting the parts of us that we want the world to see. And that sucks. Exactly. That's like literally the worst part about being not just online, but just being a person. It's like I can go to work, I can hang out with my friends, and like the things that I'm choosing to say or not say or do or not do, like it's all in my control to dictate like what I want to show. And I think, and you know what, I think that's where, again, like that's why I think I kind of knee jerk want to rush to someone like your defense, because I think that like when someone like you starts talking about like hedging your bets and trying to be a little bit more precautious and how you word things and be really careful, like I think like you are already being that like additional layer of thoughtful that like most people aren't being on a day-to-day basis. And I and I think that people that think like you think, those types of people are already just like they're taking things to heart. Like they're already like when someone says like, oh, this, what you just did hurt me, like they're feeling it. Like you feel that when someone says that. And I think those are the types of people that really are actually probably, not in all cases, but probably in most cases, putting out the most transparent version of themselves, because they're so hyper aware of where their flaws are. You know, like they're constantly thinking about it. It's the people that are pretending that they're like self-righteous and better than other people, and that they're morally correct, and that they're always right about whatever the political issue is or the social issue. And those are the types of people that I'm always skeptical of, because it's like no one is perfect. Like like the most woke person you know has some super unwoke thought inside of them that they're not letting out, and they're just never going to let you see it because it's not part of their brand, and they're just going to keep that prejudice tucked deep down, and it's just, I don't know, it's just it's a game of projections.
Yeah, and in some cases, like I remember my older brother, I asked him something, I do not remember exactly what it was or what it was about, but it was something along the lines of, is it okay to like think this if I know it's wrong? Like I can't help sort of like preconceived notions that you have that you wish you didn't, but you do. And so my older brother, he said something to me. He's basically like, that's what being human is. Yeah, is taking in those things that you know are not right, and those things that you know that the things that you lack perspective on, the things that you know that like if I saw someone and thought something just based on how they looked like that, and I was like, oh, that's a preconceived notion, that's wrong. But being human is realizing what you have no basis for and forcing yourself to look past it. Yeah. You're not perfect. You can't be perfect. You're not going to go in with no judgment to every person you ever meet. But it's about remembering that. Right. And like treating them as a human, regardless.
Dude, that just it just reminded me of this podcast I was listening to a couple months ago. I don't know if you've ever heard of Intelligence Squared. It's like a debate style podcast, but they also just do like interviews and that type of thing. But there was this woman on, I think you pronounce her name Razia Iqbal, and they were talking about the psychology of racial bias. And I guess she's like a social psychologist or something of that nature, and they were getting into just like how like our cognitive biases develop from like a super young age. Excuse me, but she was I think the example, I'll probably get this slightly wrong, but I'll get really close. The example, she was like, she opens up her book and this interview with this story. I guess her husband, I think she's half black, and I think her husband is black, and they have it. So their kid, I think, is mixed in some regard. I forget exactly what it is, but the story they open up the book with is, I guess they were on a plane, and her daughter, it was a son. Her son, I guess, was like 4 years old, something like that. And they're on this plane, and I guess there's like no black people on the plane except this one guy. And I guess her son said to the mom something like pointed to the one black guy on the plane and said something like, "Is he gonna rob us?" And the mom was just like, "Oh my God! Like, why would you think that?" Or no. He looks. He also included something about him looking like daddy. There was this really bizarre like racially charged thing that was attached to it. Yeah. And the mom started like picking it apart or whatever, and like getting into like the fact that like this was just like this instilled racial bias that was there. And like she gave another example, like I guess because she was like the only half black person at like an all white school, but like it was like the opposite there. Like everyone there was like super nice to her or whatever, and she like didn't experience it. But like point being, like she was getting into just like the sort of innate biases that we have, and like how it's a lot different to consider. Like we have these biases, but those biases then become prejudices as we grow up. So it's like you can separate those things because like there's obviously like how we observe the real world. Like there's gonna be some people who literally can't help themselves, but like if they're in like a like if you're a woman and you're in like a street alley and like a black person walks by, there's gonna be something like for some women that like they like get fear struck in them or whatever, and like that's the racial bias. And I guess like it's from that point then that you can determine if you're going to be prejudiced from there, or if you're going to be like, no, that's just like an irrational fear that I've developed from, you know, like whatever, growing up.
From media and from everything we've been told. Yeah,
exactly. So like it is interesting how you can kind of parse out, you know, like where your prejudices start, which then obviously turn into various forms of bigotry. But like we also have these innate things that like they're just part of being human. Like we're naturally super tribal, you know?
Yeah. Let me tell you, I'm from. So I was born in South Carolina, lived a lot of my life in North Carolina, then a lot of my life in Georgia. None of those are very super known to be like progressive. Or very inclusive. And they're making strides. Georgia, not so much. But it's all about coming from that and now living in New York and realizing that there's plenty of racism up here as well in New York. But it's just being able and willing and open to learning.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay if you've made mistakes. It's okay if you were like, I mean, it's not okay if you were racist, but it's okay if you realize you are and you want to work to be better.
Right.
And that's all you got to do, is just at every point, just try to do better. Just do everything you can, but you have to actually try, or it doesn't count. You know, like, you can't just say you want to be better.
Yeah, and that's like the world we live in. It's just like everyone wants to project onto social media like their own self-fulfilled journey toward enlightenment or whatever. So it all becomes like, there was this one, you probably don't remember this. There was this one case that came up like a year or two ago. I think it was like a year and a half ago, where this is terrible. I forget the burger joint, but it was some like burger chain in like the DC area. And they tweeted in response to a user this meme, like from the brand account. They tweeted a meme of like I forget this is sad. I forget the journalist's name, but it was a journalist who was beheaded by ISIS. They took a picture of like the journalist and like ISIS or something like that, photoshopped burgers onto it, and that was like the response. And then that like blew up, and like they deleted it right away. But of course, it became like this viral story.
Too late.
Yeah, and like it turned out that the kid who sent the tweet out, his name was not Vayner, it's Valor, Michael Valor. I think that was his name. It was Valor Media. That was like his like media company or whatever that was like representing this poor burger chain that was like caught in the crosshairs because they had nothing to do with it. They were just represented by an agency, and this kid was like I can't even describe it, like the utmost stereotype in this situation, where he like put out this video series when it happened, like when it went viral, and it was like a 3-part thing where he was apologizing, but the apology was not really an apology. Like he definitely apologized, but it was coded by him talking about how like he's gonna grow from this, and like it's all about his journey, and like nothing's gonna stop him on his way to success, and like it's just like a little roadblock. And
it's so stupid.
It was
How about just don't make jokes about ISIS beheading journalists?
Yeah, like just shut up. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like just say sorry.
What we need from you right now is shut up.
Oh, it was so bad. Like I gotta go back to this kid's profile now. Like it's literally it's at Valor Media. I don't want to send
my God.
My podcast isn't big enough to send a mob anyway. But like I don't want people to like mob this guy.
You hear that, people?
Go get him.
We were just talking about this before. Attack him. There are no repercussions. He's not a real person. He's just an account.
If you can take anything from this discussion, it's that we need to mob more people. It's the only way.
More people. Treat them as subhuman garbage, especially if you have no proof.
That is the theme
People
here.
will believe you more the more you lie about it.
Oh, it's sad, but it's that's like the whole like QAnon like conspircy thing.
Yeah,
like, people
God.
People just want conspiracies. They want to
believe.
They want to believe.
Oh God.
But yeah, that's just like another one-off example where it's just people are always, they don't want to really genuinely grow from a personal level. It's just like, how can I appear?
People don't want to change.
Yeah, it's just like, how can I appear like I've grown from this so I can rebrand it for myself?
Yeah, maybe I was just lucky that I was. All right, this might be too real, but we'll edit it out. Whatever. Maybe I was just lucky that I was like really fucking depressed, and Whale Fact literally like helped turn all that around.
Oh,
so
wow,
maybe I just like it was a very. I mean, for a number of reasons, and it didn't just like go away. Depression doesn't just go away.
Of course.
But but having a community and having people that reach out to me constantly and tell me that I made their day, like if anybody's listening and they've messaged me and said something like, your whale facts make my day, even if I didn't reply yet, I'll get there. There's a lot of them. Even if I haven't replied, it probably made me smile. So like, keep doing that shit, please. It's lovely. And it does, it means like, I feel it every time. It's not like, oh, there's another person saying I'm nice. It's like, it's nice.
Yeah.
It is the payment that the only payment I'm getting right now from it is good feeling. So please keep supplying that, people, or Venmo me at PrestoVision. That's my Venmo.
I went to your profile before we started this just to see if there was like anything recent that you posted that we should touch on, and I saw that your bio has a link to your Amazon wish list. I was crying. I literally laughed out loud. I was like, oh my
I
God.
have a fucking like $1,300 laptop. I went on there and found like one of the most expensive laptops, and I was like, yeah, I'd want this. And I was like, here, buy it for me, idiots.
Please, Twitter. Twitter, do your thing. Like,
Yeah, no, I wish I could take credit for that. One of my friends, I don't remember who it was. I can't. Maybe Lexi Zinger. I'm not sure. It could have been her. I'm not sure. Had their wish list, Amazon wish list, as their fucking website, and I was like,
that's so smart.
I don't care if people go to my Instagram. My Instagram's just like a personal page. Like, follow it if you want, but it's just like me. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Like, it's not. I post jokes on Twitter, but maybe I'll post them on Instagram every now and then.
Yeah.
But I don't care, and that's what I had my link there as. And I was like, "Fuck that! Maybe someone will just buy me a video game."
Can
So
you
I just have,
imagine?
like, a couple bullshit things up there that I'll never buy that I would love to receive.
Dude, that would be amazing if like one day you just like incidentally made some billionaire's day with a tweet, and they were like, "This is hilarious! Like, how can I repay this person?" They just go to your
look, his Amazon wish list. Let's buy him a new laptop.
Oh,
yeah,
it'd be incredible.
It would be incredible. And the way Amazon wish lists work is that if they buy it, they can just send it to the address, and it'll come to me, but it doesn't tell them where I live.
It's perfect. That's so
perfect.
Oh my God.
So far, not a single person has bought a single thing, but that's to be expected.
I mean, yeah, no one likes spending money on Twitter. Like, kind of like, that gets back to this whole the thing about selling merch. It's like, I know a lot of our mutual friends that have gotten into selling shirts and whatnot, like, it's always met with some level of disdain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People are like, what, you want money?
Disgust.
You want something?
How dare you supply me with funny jokes every fucking day for 3 years and now want $15 for a t-shirt that I will love?
Oh,
people, it's ridiculous.
Dude, it's the same problem with something like podcasts. It's like you get so used to getting something for free that as soon as someone's like, hey, I'm gonna like move this thing behind like a paywall, or I'm asking for donations through my website to help me make a living, everyone's like, are you serious? Like, we've been getting this for free for so long.
What? What do you mean you put hours into this and you don't want to keep doing that for nothing?
How dare you? I'm the same way though. I get it. I think we're all in that same boat where it's like we all even though I think we consciously know that like I'm gonna go like near where I live in outside of Philly, we have like this convenience store called Wawa. I don't know if they're around. Like you got Wawa. You're in New York, so you know.
Yeah, well, like, there aren't many around me, but I've been around.
You know what's up though.
I know the magic.
They're
of
the
Wawa.
best. Yeah, they're the best. So it's like I know, like I have one right up the street from our office. So like I know at least once a week or once every 2 weeks, I'll be going up there and paying $6 for a hoagie or whatever. And like I don't need to do that. Like I can pack my own lunch and whatever. But
exactly,
and I'm fully aware that $6 could be going towards some creator's Patreon where I'm really enjoying their stuff. But
or buying more followers from William Shatner.
More Brazilian bots.
Yes, the Brazilian because you replied to one tweet once.
Oh my God, that's right.
Best friends with them. That was my favorite.
Dude,
evidence.
I totally forgot about that.
Holy
that is
shit,
from that whole
hilarious.
conspiracy thing. That I didn't even know what that account was. Like it was just some random account that was like, "Hey, Stakem, do you want like followers?" And of course, at the time, like I'm just replying to literally every account ever that tweets.
Exactly.
So I'm just like,
it's
sure.
about engagement.
Yeah,
that's
like
how you grow.
As if I bought that bot
you
to
don't
tweet
think about it all the time. You don't want to like spend 35 minutes on one freaking reply. You just reply and move on.
Dude, I know. Tell me, like I've had very few incidences over the years where I had to like go back and either delete a tweet or I guess like kind of screen whoever the person was I was tweeting at, because you literally can't do it to everybody. But like there's some cases where like once in a while like someone replies and you reply back to them, and then I click on their profile and it's like some hateful thing is in their bio, or they retweeted something hateful, or maybe like in their like I didn't even see it, but like it has some like terrible word in it or something where I'm like, oh crap, like okay, I need to. But most times it's like you can't be screening every person you reply to. It's just not possible.
Especially when it's like people get mad at you for replying to a reply on your tweet.
Exactly.
Like, I don't click on everybody's name. I don't even look at some people's names. I like look. I'm like, can I fit to your name? No. Okay, then I'll write something else.
Yeah, you physically can't. Like if you're trying to engage
man.
your community, you can't be doing that to every single account. It's just not.
Yeah, I
not possible.
spend so much fucking time on Twitter. I hate it. I want to spend less time on Twitter, but I'm not gonna spend it looking at random people's names.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. It's literally not worth it. But dude, you like I kind of brushed off this because we went down another trail. But I'll let you be the arbiter of if you want to get into it all. But like, what was it like? I guess initially when you went viral, then while you were going through this bout of depression, or like what was that period like? Have you spoken about this online at all, or is this kind of like a touchy subject? Or?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's not. It's something I'm very open about. It's just something I haven't really talked about.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So oh God, I'm trying to like how much, what do I want to, okay, because I'm going back to I don't want to make anyone else feel bad. So I don't want to try to put blame on anyone. Anyway, I went through a rough time in my personal life, and it was basically like right when I was coming out of college. And I was so used to having this just people around me my whole life. Like obviously like going through school and everything, there's always a ton of people around, and I'm a loud, obnoxious person. I like having people around. But I don't know. I get very nervous and like one-on-one. So it's like when I get thrown out into the real world right after college, and I like went from a ton of people all the time to suddenly I'm in another city doing a tour with a theater company with people that I've never met, in a city I've never met, in a state I've never been in. And then everything that felt solid in my life sort of crumbled a little bit too. A lot happened with my family, with my own relationships, and it was a bunch of different, and we had to put our dog down. It was just a bunch of stuff all at the same time that just sort of spiraled me into a very, just not a great place. But at the same time, it was right when I basically moved to Buffalo, which was something that helped a lot. So it all worked together, but not very much until Whale Fact. Just sort of, I'm in a much, much, much better place now. And I attribute that actually a lot to Pokemon Go, which is weird because that got me up and moving around. But then the final nail of actual like feeling sort of like myself again was this sudden community that embraced me immediately. We talked about group chats a little bit earlier, just jokingly, and the people that I've like met from this. But there's one group chat in particular, obviously, it's called Donatello. It's great. You know, that like, I was like, they took me in immediately, like maybe a couple days after Whale Fact blew up. And they sort of helped me navigate through the whole thing.
Oh, that's great.
But they also helped me just, yeah. So it was so overwhelming, obviously, just being launched into this, having a social presence. But they helped me navigate it so much. They helped me stay grounded, as did Dan, my roommate, who I mentioned earlier. He helped me a lot and continues to help me. But all of that, that community, particularly in that room, that group chat, those people that I've grown to love, were just as big a contributor to raising this Whale Fact itself was. And I think it's more just Whale Fact has allowed me in my personal life to it's leading to better things. It's leading to, I might be able to, I hope boss didn't hear this podcast before, but I'm leading to hopefully being able to leave my job and move on to things that I want to be doing in life. And obviously that the biggest source of depression for me was pretty much everybody's just stuck.
Yeah,
and it sucks.
Right.
And like being stuck in a job that you hate is not helpful.
Dude.
So it's just, I've never really talked about so much, so it's hard to put into words eloquently.
No, you're good. You're good.
I don't know.
I got everything you said, but the signal
dipped out just a little bit there. Just so sorry for anyone listening. I heard it all, but it was just a little bit crackly. But yeah, that's like that's the thing, man. Like, it's so much of depression. Yeah. I mean, obviously it revolves around identity, and I think that in select, I think it's one of the things where it's the exception that people have like inherent biological, just like it's already predetermined in your blood or whatever that you're going to be depressed. I think that's actually the exception, and I think the rule to depression tends. I mean, obviously there's a ton of overlap, but I think the rule is much more circumstantial to just like the time that we live in insofar as, you know, the technological revolution and just growing up on the internet and having to like evolve this new part of our brain, which is just not natural, obviously, and like having to deal with just like like such a crappy economy, and like also just looking at all of life now through a microscope, because it's just everything. Like it's definitely not, our brains are not built to be taking in so much information where like you can just click Twitter or click the trending tab on Twitter and be like, oh, so and such town got bombed. There's a shooter active in Texas. Like this person died of this illness or whatever.
Every
it's like
fucking day.
Yeah, and like or like this about climate change. This about, you know, like
God.
There might be
I was
like
literally about to be like, and we haven't even mentioned the biggest boot on the back of all of our fucking necks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's every little thing that's just compounded into this under this microscope, and we're witnessing it day in, day out, and it's impossible to escape, because unless you're just completely logged off and choosing to disengage from the world, I mean, it's all happening right now. So it's
so hard to do.
Yeah, it's like all that just compounds on people, and like obviously like you topple in, like you were saying, just shitty life circumstances where it's relationships and people. Like most people, there's like a meme going around I saw that was really funny, because like I grew up from like 2010 or 11, I think I started listening to Joe Rogan's podcast. It was like right when he was getting like kind of his start. I think he started like 2009, and like I was really into MMA at the time, so it was kind of like a natural, like I didn't listen to podcasts, so he was like the first one I got into. And it's funny because like over the years it became like a meme where so much of like his content, I don't know as much now, but like back then he'd always go off about like, oh, like office jobs, like they're just sucking the life out of people, like you got to get out of the cubicle, you got to make something of your life, like kind of like that whole Tony Robbins style like motivation. Like I don't think he was trying to do that, but he was just like, it was just natural at the time. And it's funny because it's become like a meme that I saw floating around this week where someone was like Joe Rogan's like podcast saying like people at work, these dead end jobs, like they're so lifeless or whatever, blah blah. And then it was like it panned to something that said 99% of the people that listen to Joe Rogan's podcast are people that are working in these cubicles and in these dead end jobs. It's just so shitty, because it's like, what do you do? You know?
Yeah. You're locked in. God. If we start talking about this, the podcast is gonna be 6 hours long, because we're gonna start talking. Oh my God, I have so much to say, and it has nothing to do with anything I have any expertise in, i.e. Twitter and nothing else.
Well, you don't need expertise to rant about it. I mean, it's just crazy. And
that's true.
And you know this for a fact. Like
People prove that every day.
Yeah, exactly. And I know this for a fact. Like as someone, like I fell into where I'm at with my job by such happenstance of privilege and lucky timing and just like all these compounding factors that like led, like, and obviously like I think I work hard. I think I'm good at what I do, and I'm sure you do too. But like people like you or I, like where like you just fell into this
fucking
account.
Hard at it.
Yeah, like we work at it, but like we both know like your account just fucking went viral on a whim. Like you weren't planning for it; it just blew up. And
Fuck no.
You know, and I know, like when you're on Twitter, you know that in some Twitter sense of the word, like you are the 1%. Like you're part of like the lucky community of accounts that are like have a big following and people love it. Like you are in like the in group, you know what I mean? Like most people are in the 99%. They've got 50 followers and no one really likes them, and they just go.
And they're all their friends.
That's just it's just so shitty to think about.
People they know in real life, and
it's just shitty. It's like, what do you do?
And it is it really is like that scenario, like the 1%, the 99%, because you'll see jokes of accounts that have 25 followers and their jokes will be hilarious.
Yep.
I'll like have someone reply something funny on my account and I'll be like, oh, that's so funny. And funny enough for me to click on their account. And then I'll go to it and I'll be like, oh, that's if you had a big account, that would have gone viral.
All the time.
Like, that's huge.
Yep.
That's so cool. I love it. But the worst part about that is if it's similar to another joke, then people immediately assume you stole it.
Yeah.
When it's like, it's an account with 25 followers, no one saw it. Like, anybody that did see it was like me, where I just happened to randomly visit your profile one day and maybe saw one funny tweet. But obviously, I'm not the type of person that would
there's millions of people out there,
because that's bullshit.
Yeah. And you know this.
There's so many. Every joke has been made.
Exactly.
It's about making a joke in your own way. The reason it is funny is not the content or like the building blocks. It's how you put it together.
Exactly.
So it's like you make a funny joke about A plus B equals C. It's like, okay, but I found a much funnier way to say A plus B equals C.
Yes.
And that's why that's not a stolen joke, because it's completely fucking different. They're just both about A and B equaling C, which is something that everyone knows. Like so it's sometimes it's just a little wishy-washy. It's like, oh, that is kind of similar. Like I feel weird about that, about you tweeting that, because that tweet was very similar to another one we saw. But then sometimes it's like, yeah, but that's because the core concept is apples are red. Fuck, of course.
Exactly.
So it's finding, oh, God. But then you have the people that do not care if the core concept is simple, and that's why. And they just want to then point out, you said steal jokes, but look, Viking, you tweeted Dr. Pepper is a woman, and people have said that before. And yes, people have said that before, because Dr. Pepper is a woman is like, what, 4 words?
Yep.
5 words, rather.
and you're talking
Dr.
about
Pepper
like a brand like Dr. Pepper, which has been in front of millions of people before. Like, millions of people have seen Dr. Pepper, thought about Dr. Pepper. Like, exactly. Of course, other people had a similar thought.
Yeah. Yeah, but like people aren't buying the Dr. Pepper is a woman shirt because they think, oh, that's hilarious. I want it to say Dr. Pepper is a woman on a shirt. They're saying, oh, that's hilarious because Viking said it. I love Viking.
Exactly.
I want to support Viking.
Yep.
That's why I bought one. It hasn't gotten here yet, but I bought one.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's nuts, man.
But like it's just so people, and all of that. I just realized I was going on a tangent, but didn't say why, and that was all just related to people coming back and accusing people of stealing jokes and buying false and trying to use their platform just to gain money, as if, like, that isn't my right.
Yeah, right.
I have a Twitter account that I use that I'm allowed to tweet whatever the fuck I want from. Why the fuck would I not be like, hey, if you want a shirt based off of something I said, here, you can buy it.
Right. Yeah, dude,
that's it. That's all I'm doing. I'm not like you're not gonna ever. I'm not even pulling the podcast behind a paywall. I'm not hiding anything that I've done before. Nothing has changed. I'm gonna continue to tweet free jokes every fucking day. But sometimes, if you like the shirt, I love my shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts. My whale shirt is my favorite fucking shirt. I'm sure you would love it if you bought one. You don't need to, though. That's it. Period. That's where it ends.
And no one's above that. That's the thing. Like, literally every single account, like from Drill sells a book, like and Drill has a Patreon too. And like, I'm trying to think, like, do you know the account Not a Wolf?
Yes.
That guy, I've had him on before. Dan Sheehan, like, he's working on a book and he sells merch. Like, all these accounts. I mean, like, what? Why else? Like, it's like you start out nobly. We all do. Everyone does. Like, before I was in this situation, like, I was pursuing songwriting to a degree, and like getting into songwriting for me, it wasn't like I had this dream to be like, oh, the reason I'm getting into songwriting is so I can make money. It's like, no, I love songwriting,
Exactly,
and if money comes,
a bad reason to get into
exactly, it's a bad reason to get into any art. And like why would you just try to start
I do
art?
theater, dude. I understand.
Yeah, it's like the lengths people go to try to pigeonhole you into bad intentions with stuff like this is just nuts. Like, it really is. Like, you can't.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
People need to make money. It's like, you can't. Like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Like, just not make money? Just be like, oh, like I'm
exactly.
this philanthropic account with 150,000 followers, and I'm choosing to be above it all.
More perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a more perfect human because I'm going to keep you 150,000 people happy and also not be able to eat. Haha! Like, no, I want to put in a lot of work and maybe be able to eat at the end of the day, or a couple times maybe throughout the day would be nice.
Yeah.
But like, oh god, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Oh, people are great. I love people. Some people are not great, and I still love them as much as I can.
It's good. I think, to vent about this stuff sometimes in good company,
sure.
because like, as someone like yourself who is in charge and as a creator of this massive account, like, obviously these are things you think about, and I think most people, again, going back to this idea of like who is in the rule and who is in the exception, like you are definitely the exception in this case, and it's easy, I think, for people who are part of the rule, like the 99% or whatever, it's easy for them to look at you down their nose, and like that's just a natural thing we do, and I think, and you've kind of alluded to it throughout here, like it's not a bad thing if someone has like poignant criticism of you, but if it's just someone being a dick and they're just trying to troll you or get a rise out of you or make themselves feel better, it's like, that's just so it's such a waste of time. Like, it really, and it sucks. You know what? And it sucks. I'm gonna pull you right now, and even caveat that by being extra sensitive and say, I go to the lengths to try to understand people in that situation who, if you're in a shitty situation and like, say you don't have a lot going for you and you are just some random troll on Twitter and like you hate your job, like maybe you don't have a lot of friends, maybe you have a bad family situation, maybe you just got broken up with them, and you're mad online, like I do my best to empathize with people who are in that situation, because I think it's a lot easier for me to sit on my high horse as someone who does have a pretty good life and be like, shame on the like small accounts for trying to troll and be rude to me, like me and my holy fortress of goodness. Like I definitely never want to be close to that guy. Like, I definitely try to understand why someone might do it, but it still doesn't excuse bad behavior. Like, it just doesn't. Like, you can try to understand it, but you can't just be like,
Seriously.
oh, it's fine that you just told me to fuck off and kill myself. Like, it's fine. I understand where you're coming from. Like, you can only take it so far.
I hear you. And that's they fucking they fucking do it to Kyle all the time. I keep bringing it up because it's the worst.
Poor Kyle.
But like, they'll just but back to our lovely conspiracy theory conversation, because of the just straight up lies that have been presented as fact about Kyle, there are now any number of random little accounts that have been deceived by these other accounts into thinking Kyle's a terrible human being. So everything he does, they're looking at it through this lens of he's a bad person. So they are always looking for the worst possible scenario, and they take it the one step that's much worse, and they'll reply and accuse him of that bullshit and say bullshit like I said earlier, about the whole, like, just saying he's not funny and saying anything he has is funny is stolen.
Yeah, just trying to be cruel. Yeah.
Like, just insulting his character and his people he knows. Yeah, it's awful. But it's just how quickly somebody accusing somebody of something turns into just fact in people's minds.
Yeah, and that goes back to this idea, I think, that you've kind of been, again, bringing up throughout the conversation, where you want to be responsible. Like, you have a platform, and you want to be responsible with that platform, and you want to be sensitive to how you're coming across and understand, like, the repercussions of what you say. And I think that just is a perfect example of a case gone wrong, where someone just isn't responsible with their platform. And it's like, you just forget how easy it is to send a mob on someone else unjustly like that. And it's just, and we've all done it. Like, everybody's done it, but like, it's just, it's really when it becomes so, what do you call it? Like, not periodic, but like focused. Like when it becomes so habitual and targeted.
Personal.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah.
When it becomes personal like that, like that's when it just gets dark. Because if I was just some nobody account,
it's dark and it's dangerous.
Yeah, because like if you have, even if it's only a couple thousand followers, even if you only have 2,000 followers, and you are like spreading a conspiracy, that's going to trickle down to those people, and they're going to spread it to other people, and it's like, it just sucks, because that's how these things start.
Yeah. And even people that like wouldn't have even ever thought of that, it's now at least in their mind.
Yeah.
Like I never, I was never like, oh, that guy probably bought followers. I was like, oh, look at that guy with a big number next to his name. He must be funny.
Yes.
Like that was the only way I thought until I started getting accused of it. And then I was like, what the fuck? Is that even something people do? Can you do that? Can you do that? Where do you do that? How much? No. Yeah. Oh God, I love the jokes when we just like ask people, or they'll be like, how much did you pay for that one? And we'll be like, $12.99. Here's the link. Yeah. People ask me how much a retweet from Whale Fact is.
Oh my God.
If you look at my feed, I've done like 2 that weren't replies. Like they don't cost anything because I don't do them.
Yeah, right.
But I love responding with like $12 billion is my favorite reply. Or $12.99, and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty reasonable." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm sold out. Sorry." Like, just
offers are closed at this time. Yeah, you have to.
And then if they like joke and reply and not bring it up again, then it was just a joke, because people sometimes think that's funny.
Right.
But sometimes people will be like, "Ha, that's funny, but really," and I'll be like, "Fuck you, bye." Like, goodbye. I love being able to openly tell people to fuck off as the whale, because it's out of character. So when I do it, people are like, "Oh shit!"
It's so jarring. It's like
Yeah. Yesterday, I tweeted in reply to a tweet that Llama did. Llama and a Tux.
Right.
At Llama and a Tux, Kevin. He tweeted a tweet about Peppa Pig. And I promise I'll stop bringing up random stupid tangents. We've been talking for 2 hours.
Oh no, I love it.
Anyway, he tweeted something, and it was 4 frames taken from Peppa the Pig. The 4th frame was slightly altered. And basically the story was Peppa Pig taking a bottle out of the trash can and being like, "That's not where it goes. This is plastic." And so they get in their car and they go, "Let's go to the ocean." And then they get to the ocean and she chucks it into the ocean and she says, "Eat this plastic, you stupid animals." Clearly just like an edited frame from the show. Fucking hilarious. It's going viral right now, I think.
I'm looking at it right now. It's hilarious.
20,000 last time I saw it. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I replied as Whale Fact and just said, "Peppa, you motherfucker."
Oh my God.
And I don't know if I've ever actually said motherfucker, like written out. I've said MFer a lot.
Yeah.
But, oh God, it's got like thousands of likes right now, too. Peppa, you motherfucker.
Dude,
that's all it was.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just saying the replies on that. That whole strand is hilarious.
It's great. I mean, that's the beautiful thing of Twitter. You know, it's like that's the light side of all of it. You know, being able just to interact and engage and share these kind of laughs and get and escape reality.
Exactly, and that's the thing that some people that are trying to grow that aren't forget to do, is to engage and be a person and be. Like, people follow other people because they like hearing from them. If all you tweet is conspiracy theories and telling people that they're wrong and that they're lying and tweet about all this bullshit, no one wants to hear that. Even if they're interested, they might check up on you every now and then. But no one's going to follow you to be like, yes, I want my Twitter.
I don't know, man. I miss it.
You angrily tweeting about that guy.
I'm all about that brand. I want it. I'm actually, I feel like my feed is missing that right now. So
let's become conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, we could, dude. I have that kind of mind. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very responsible in terms of understanding, you know, the repercussions of these things and whatnot. But my brain loves the idea of conspiracy.
Dude, I have so much to talk about with you, especially with the whole climate change shit that we are not going to get into, because I don't want to get that sad, but I have so many conspiracy theories, not doubting climate change. Let's be clear here. Climate change is happening. Let's be very fucking clear, and it's human.
That was a good setup.
Humans did it. Okay, let's be very clear here. But my favorite thing to think about and terrify myself with is that everyone in power that's ignoring climate change knows, and the GOP is stealing money from the country to stockpile as much money as possible to create a spaceship so that they get to survive. And maybe there is something like that going on.
Going to Mars.
But that's where my brain always goes, and I think about that so much.
Dude, with all the the government conspiracy theories over the decades, I wouldn't be terribly surprised. Come on, I mean, like,
right? They're doing, like, they're ignoring it because they know it's real. That much is obvious. But the obvious answer is they just are doing it for money, and they'll be dead by the time it's a real problem.
Well, yeah, you can,
so
I can imagine that they've been, like, over the past couple decades in these rooms with the scientists going through the data, and then they already found out, like, decades ago that climate change was already happening and that the world was doomed, and there's nothing we could do.
Been talking about it.
So they're like, oh, we already know it's over. Like, Earth's gonna die in 100 years. Like, we'll just have to keep this facade up so the masses don't worry about it, and we'll just like get ready to
honestly, kind of the right play. but not completely. Should have been the right play, but then leading us towards more, renewable resources and shit like that. But maybe for like a different reason. They're just like, oh, this is bad. Let's try this. We're a large public. We could have been led in any direction, and instead we were just sort of shoved into the mud while they accrued more money and just ignored the problem, which is not a great solution.
Yep. They're just like, let's go to Mars, dude.
Anyway, I run a whale fact. It's fun and makes me happy, unlike all the shit I'm saying right now.
Buy my t-shirts.
Buy my t-shirts. I haven't even, they don't exist yet.
They'll be, dude, by the time this podcast comes out, I bet they'll be out. I think they'll be out. This will probably be out in like a month.
The plan is to launch some sort of merch, but we're trying to make it something fun that people will want. It's not just going to be t-shirts at the beginning. I'm sure there will be some t-shirts eventually, but we got ideas. It'll be fun. Look forward to it. At 150,000 followers. Yay. Okay, that's my plug. I did
it. Dude, that was a good plug. Like I said, I think this will be out probably in like 3 to 4 weeks, so you can just keep me posted. Like if they actually come out, I'll put it like in the link or whatever, so people know it's good.
Oh yeah,
perfect.
Whatever.
It is weird
like
because
that's the thing. Is like.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes?
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
The way I think about merch is like buy it if you want to support me or if you want to support the whales, because a portion of it's going to the whales, but admittedly most of it's going to me. So like it's but you don't have to. I'm not gonna shove it down your throat. I'll tweet about it every now and then. Buy it if you want it, or don't. I don't give a fuck. I just like God.
Dude, that's the best part about like all of our friends that have pitched merch. It's like it's literally like they'll tweet about it 1 out of every 20 or 50 or 100 tweets, and like then people are just like, stop clogging my feed with selling your merch.
How dare you?
It's like once a week.
I didn't even know you were selling shirts, even though you still have followers that every day are like, hey, are you ever going to start selling shirts? And I'm like, I legit do. Have you not? Like, I have a shop. I had so many people ask, like, oh, you should sell shirts. I'm like, dude, literally click my profile. There's a link.
Dude, that is, I gotta say, man, that's the worst part about social media, like for any platform. It's like there's no fully accessible way to reach all of your followers ever. There's just not. Like you're never gonna reach all of them.
There's really not.
Yeah.
You can't send like a mass DM that goes to all of them or something like that, which that would feel intrusive. But like maybe if there was like another area, I don't know, people would abuse that. That's the problem, is that people would abuse it.
Yeah, exactly.
Content creators would abuse it. There are like everyone would abuse it, and it would become either something people ignore or something people are annoyed by, and I'm sure that's why it doesn't exist.
Yeah, our Silicon Valley overlords already thought about it.
Yeah, right. It would. No one. I don't think I deserve to be able to say one thing to 140,000 people all at the same time. I don't want that. I'm all right with the couple thousands that see it every time. That's fun.
There you
I like
go.
that. That's great.
Yeah, it's manageable. Manageable. Dude.
That said, why don't you have my fucking notifications turned on already?
Yeah.
That way, everything I ever say, whether I delete it or not, you'll see it.
I love that, dude. I love that when you have the consistent people like your stuff as soon as it's tweeted, and you just know it's like, oh wow, they got my stuff turned on.
Oh, you know it. I've got people that I can name off the top of my head right now that I won't, Misha. That just like I hope she hears this. She will. I'll tell her to listen to it. She'll
Beautiful.
be fine. You got to keep that part in.
What's up, Misha?
Even if it's out of context, just at one point in the middle of the podcast, I just go, Misha.
Perfect. No.
That's it.
I'll just subtly include you saying Misha underneath the entire audio of the whole podcast, just
Misha,
real quiet.
Misha. Yeah. Oh, you fucking creepy hell. Oh, I'm actually. I probably shouldn't have just given you that audio clip.
Oh, well, it's too late now. It's going in.
Yeah, fuck. All right. Well, all right. Oh. Yeah, this podcast is only going to be, 2.5 hours long? It'll be
we
fine.
did it, man. We did it.
When we started, everyone, he was like, let's try to keep it an hour. And I was like, all right, dude. I don't even have phone calls with Pizza Hut that are under an hour. I am a fucking talker. You do not understand what you're in for.
You never know.
But people. I was like, yes, Nathan. Under an hour, of course, Nathan.
Right away,
no problem.
Right away, of course. Dude, I swear.
It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Some people, it's everyone's different. Some people you can get them down to 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Other people it's endless. They'll just rant forever. Especially because I like to do podcasts too with people that either I've never talked to or I don't get to talk to enough. So it's then obviously you have a lot of pent-up stuff to talk about because we've never had a conversation before. So it's there's just endless roads we can go down.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked about the origin of Whale Fact in a while because most of the people I see day to day have heard it.
Yeah, right.
So that was, it's fun. It's fun. Getting to talk to the people that you don't talk to much, especially, and it's weirder for us because I have your presence from the day to day. I see you on the Twitter feed all the time and stuff like that. And occasionally we DM mostly about when the fuck are we going to record this podcast.
This is the third time we reschedule.
God. And I legitimately completely fucking forgot until earlier today when you were like, are we still on for tonight? And I was like, remember that notification that I told my phone to give me that it just inexplicably didn't? I didn't move. Luckily, I have no plans and am no one outside of Twitter.
Perfect.
So I had all... Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
I'm glad it worked out, man. I'm glad we finally got to do it.
Yeah, no, me fucking too, and this has been fun. I hope I didn't sound like a dumb shit.
Nah, dude, I'm telling you, man. I'm happy. I'm glad. I'm always glad to come across people who think about their own actions in the world as much as you do. But I'm also always very sensitive to the fact that because I'm the same way, and I just want to be free, Preston. Don't worry about what other people think.
Yeah, but then I worry about when I talk about here's all the nice things I do. I'm doing the exact same thing that we do on Twitter, and I'm not going to come on a podcast and be like, here are all the ways that I fucking suck as a human being.
Well, next episode we do.
I'm building myself up pretty much. The next one.
Next one, we'll do it. Well, the next one
all the horrible things
roasts.
I've ever done.
Yep, we'll just.
Man,
you'll just go off about the worst stuff you've done, and I'll just roast you for it. That'll be
killed a bird once. I was 12. I shot it with a homemade bow and arrow, which, while impressive, was devastating to me.
That's a good tweet.
Yeah, I was like, that's a true story too. I need to. Yep, I'm gonna write that down.
That's a good tweet. That's a good tweet.
Oh man!
All right,
that's
dude.
a good tweet. Look out for that tweet, everybody. It probably got tweeted 3 weeks ago.
I was gonna say, since we're talking to the past right now, I'll have a link for that tweet in the show notes when it happens. So
yes, that tweet specifically. All right, I'll send it to you once I get around to doing it.
That's perfect. All right, man. Well, dude, thanks so much again for for talking, for sharing all this stuff. It's been great. Was there anything else you wanted to tag at the end here? Besides, I know you buy your shirts.
Buy my shirts.
Besides that
don't exist yet. I don't know. Venmo me, I guess. No, I'm just fucking around. I don't know. This has been fun. Let's do it again. Have me on again. I'm bored. I like doing podcasts.
Hell yeah, man. Start your own podcast. I tell everybody to start their own podcast. Do it.
Maybe. I've thought about it. Actually, that said, I don't know why I'm being like, I thought about it. Me and my brothers, that's the way every podcast starts that has
of course
brothers. Get this. It's me and 2 other brothers. There have been no successful podcasts about 3 brothers. Definitely not multiple. But yeah, so we are actually, my older brother does a lot of stand-up comedy, and the guy that owns the club was looking at starting like a podcast network.
Cool.
And was talking to him about starting a podcast. So, my Skype is making noises. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still there. Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Mine, it like cut out. That's weird. Okay.
Weird.
Anyway, so we've been looking at starting a podcast, and basically we've been talking about naming it Sons of a Preacher Man. Our dad was a preacher for a long time.
Wow.
And just sort of, yeah, so we've got a lot of, it'll be funny and vulgar, don't worry. But
it's a great concept though. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and it's just, but that's exactly what I was talking about back before, like putting yourself into it. It's got to be something, it's unique because it's you. Anyway, let's not start that conversation again. We were just wrapping up. I'm so sorry.
Dude, I get it, man. That's this whole podcast. Like I literally say this podcast is rabbit trails, and it's literally just, it's about me. Like it's my life and the people I think are interested in. So I mean,
hell yeah,
I'm with you, and I hope that you get to launch that soon. I think that sounds dope.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, we've done a couple like test sessions, and they've gone really well, and the guy liked what he heard. So we're gonna hopefully soon get our act together and actually like do it. It's really it's our little brother that's holding it up. He's the worst. It's your fault, Tim. Anyway,
Tim, get it together, man.
Come on, Tim.
Man.
Oh, man, he won't listen to this. Don't worry. Oh, if he does now, he's going to be able to use that I said that.
Put that in the intro. Put that in the intro of the podcast. There you go.
Literally.
Sound bit.
Literally, my older brother and I were talking about having a bit at the beginning of every episode that's just like, hey, did Tim show up? Because it's funny whether he did or not.
Yeah, it's perfect. It makes sense then.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll just and that way, because also he lives out in California and we live both on the eastern seaboard, right. So it's a lot easier for us to find time together. So we are very aware that there might be episodes that Tim won't be available in. So I think it's funny.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And we'll explain it away that he's a shitty, flaky person.
Yeah, Tim's like this mythological figure that's like part of the podcast, but not really part of the podcast.
Yeah, he's part of the podcast, but every time he comes on, everyone hates him. Oh, man.
Awesome, dude. Well, yeah, all right. Well, I'll tell people, we'll include all this stuff in the links and tell people to be on the lookout for all that good stuff.
I will definitely keep you updated if that podcast happens anytime soon, and I'll send you that tweet.
Hell yeah, man. Well, dude, thanks so much, Preston, for sharing all that and for rambling into the void like we like to do, obviously.
Hell yeah, man.
So it was great to add some context to our Twitter relationship. So
yeah, no, for real. It was wonderful speaking with you, Nathan, and I hope that we do again soon.
Awesome, man. All right, well, I'll catch you back on the online world.
Hell yeah.
See you,
all
man.
right.
Take care.
Yeah, bye.